Hi ladies, I'm back today to just share with you some slow stitching that I've been working on, and I decided to do something in fall colors. This is my little project that I've been working on, and it's about 3 inches wide and about 15 inches long. I've attached it to a kilt pin, and then I've added a little beaded tassel on the side here that is in all the colors, and I'm just going to pick it up here and sort of show it to you so you can see it nice and close. So I've used really pretty appliques. Well, actually it's material that I've had appliques on it, and I fussy cut the appliques out and then I've stitched them on using, this is a bullion stitch at the top here that kind of looks like it's crocheted, but that's what that's called. And then I used knots to attach on this applique with the sequins in the brown leaves, and then I added a little flower here with some late daisy stitches and straight stitches and knots. It's a little piece of velvet that I did a stitch around. I think that's the blanket stitch that I did around the edge of that, and then I added in some other fabric here and then just did some straight stitches and some French knots. Here I did a bunch of the yo-yo flowers, and in these I added beads into the centers. This is a flower done with embroidery floss, and you do odd number of spokes and then you go over and under and you make these loops, and I did it in 2 different colors of embroidery floss, and then added some brown French knots in the center. Here is another piece of fabric that I had there's actually pieces of sari. This is, and it has these little sequins that were already embroidered on it, and then I just did cross stitches between them, and then some straight stitches up the side, and another set of bullion knots here. Here I had a little crocheted flower, or stitched it onto the piece with some I think these are bullion knots too, and I just went all around to attach it down, and then I added a mirror in the center of that. This is a piece of trim that I had, and I stitched it on with the red straight stitches and added a few beads. This is a piece of satin ribbon, and I stitched that on with a sort of a zigzag straight stitches and French knots, and then added some more French knots here. Another set of yo-yos. This one done in, again, a sari fabric that I bought. This was also a sari fabric. Actually, this one is too. All 3 of them are. And I got those from Nola from Nanny's Attic by Nola on Facebook. And I've talked about her before in my other videos, and she's a really good source for getting pieces of fabric to craft with at really affordable prices. And so I've made, again, 3 yo-yos here, a grouping of them. This one has some, looks like bullion knots again in the center. This one has beads, and so does this one. And then here is another little piece of applique that I've stitched on and added a bead to the center, and a matching piece of that applique is up the side here with some stitches holding it down. And then here is again a flower that I've stitched, and some more bullion knots, and a row of beads holding down some fabrics with stitches, and that in the background you can see behind there. And there's some little bits with a fiber on it as well. And this was another piece of fabric that I had, and I stitched on the fabric following some of the pattern on the fabric with the brown stitching. And then another yo-yo made out of that same burgundy velvet that you saw up above. And then I did some straight stitches and knots coming out from that. And the same here, I did shorter straight stitches with knots on the ends. This is some fiber that I rolled up and made into a bit of a eclectic kind of flower, and added and stitched it all on with some French knots in the middle. Another one of the leaves with the sequins on them that I cut from the fabric, and those have been just stitched on again with small little stitches. And another one of those flowers made with the uneven spokes underneath, and then you just go over and under and over and under to make these little flowers. And this one's done in sort of a reddy orange and yellow with some beads in the center. Another one of my little crocheted flowers with the mirror in the center, and this time I used little French knots in a sort of a orangey, burnt orangey color to attach that one on. And a few more beads stitched up there and some French knots holding down that piece of fabric. This piece of fabric here held on by some French knots that sort of look like little flowers on the ends of these stems. Some cross stitch here and some these are bullion knots again here. And this is another fabric, and I again did the cross stitching between the little sequins that are actually attached onto that fabric. And again, black blanket stitch here to hold on the green one, and then another one of those velvet hearts, and again I stitched around the edge, little French knot down in the corner. This is another applique and the leaves that were on that one fabric I got, and I fussy cut them out and then I've stitched them on to this project. And then coming to the bottom, just another piece of sari silk and a bit of fibers all attached with some stitches, and then some beads as well. Here's some little cluster flowers that I stitched on here with red centers, and the flowers are brown color. Again, some more of the bullion knots, cross stitch, more bullion knots, and blanket stitch on the corner. I really like how this one came out. I love the color combinations. I just think that it really reminds me of fall here on the west coast of British Columbia, and all the colors of the leaves. So that was my inspiration for this one. And I really like how it turned out, and I think it'll look pretty hanging on the wall. It'll add a pop of color just to a small area. I hope you enjoyed my latest slow stitch project. I'm really enjoying doing the slow stitch. I sort of have something going all the time, and I'm still working on my Sew for the Soul book as well, and I'm almost finished that, and so I will be sharing my finished Sew for the Soul book when I'm done. Have a great day, ladies. Bye for now.